Good morning, Andy. This is the Baseball Bash for May 6th, 2025. Can you believe it? We're doing baseball. We got everything's going on. We got the horse racing, the Kentucky Derby. John Hardoon and Greg DePalma did a great job putting that together. They picked the winner. Awesome.
That was a fun race, by the way.
Oh, yeah. In the
Went
mud.
right down to the last furlong.
That's right.
I think my horse is still running.
In the next race.
Yeah.
This is Proline TV.
What's the old line about betting on a horse? And the odds were 5 to like 10 to 1, and he ended up getting to the wire at 2:45 or something like
that. This is Baseball Bash. We're on YouTube, and we're Proline TV. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, make the bell ring, et cetera, et cetera. We have the ATS show on Wednesday, which is great. It's about 60 minutes. There's 4 of us on there, or maybe 3. I don't know who's going to be on there this week, but Mark Lawrence is putting together the football magazines that he does every year, and
the Bible.
Yeah, and he goes into a dungeon, from what I'm told, and he stays in there for like months.
Yeah,
I mean, not literally, but that's the joke that we tell each other. We got baseball. We got stuff going on. Andy, you and I both look at, and I got 2 screens here. I got to overlay one screen, but let's see. I'll share a screen here. Let me see if I can do this. Share screen. Let me see. Put that over top here. I'm learning technology. So here we have some lines that we can see. Well, that's baseball. Yeah, Cleveland at Washington today. You've got
doubleheader. That's a doubleheader from Monday's
right.
rainout.
Right. The Lively's pitching and Ortiz is pitching against Irwin and Lord. Looks like Cleveland's favored in both games. I'll go down the list here a little bit. If you see anything that you absolutely love, you want to talk about, just jump right in. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. The Dodgers, of course, 275 laying, with Gosselin against Quantrill. That's a big number on the road, but
it is. But last night I made a play on Dodgers on the run line. They were going up against Sandy Alcantara, who had that tremendous year. I think it was in 2023. He broke out a year, and I think he had the Tommy John surgery that caused him to miss all of 2024. And he's been off to a shaky start so far in 2025. So this was a play last night. Not so much on the Dodgers, although you never have to really defend a play on the Dodgers, but it was more a play against Alcantara. And he indeed did struggle last night against the Dodgers. 5 innings, 5 runs all earned. 6 hits, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. The 1 walk isn't bad, but 4 strikeouts is a little bit low. But then again, only 5 innings. So he's one of those pitchers, and I'm sure you do this too, Jim, that you have certain pitchers that you like to play on when they're pitching, depending upon the price. But even more important are pitchers that you like to go against because they're just not in good form, maybe at their end of their career. Now, 2 examples this year, and one has recovered and one has not. Charlie Morton and Aaron Nola got off to really struggling starts. Nola of the Phillies has put in some good efforts his last couple of starts. Morton, I think, actually, they scratched him from a start, and they had used one of those bullpen pitchers come in and pitch an inning, and Morton came in and didn't do all that well for the next 3 or 4 innings that he was in. But yeah, I would think that and maybe I'm wrong, but I would think, Jim, that you do have some pitchers that you do look to go against and very often play first 5 against.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're not always playing on pitchers. Sometimes you're looking to play against pitchers. And definitely there's 2 ways to look at it. The next game is interesting to me. We got Texas going against Boston, Eovaldi against Newcomb. Now, when you look at Eovaldi's last 3 games, and I do look at current form a lot, and I know you do as well. His last 18 innings.
I'm showing Giolito. I'm showing.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Giolito,
excuse me. Giolito's going, not Newcomb. But Eovaldi, 150 ERA, .83 whip. 22 strikeouts in 18 innings. To me, that looks like a spot that I like Evaldi in this spot with the Rangers.
I do as well. I have them down as one of the games I considered for play today. And I think the fact that Texas is favored on the road in Boston, albeit Evaldi has a huge edge, I think the fact that they're favored on the road shows just what a pitching is they have. Giolito was a highly sought of player when he got I think he was involved in one of the big trades with Washington and the Chicago White Sox. Had some success there, but never lived up to that. And he was another one who missed all of last season due to injury. And I believe this is his second start, maybe his third, but I think it's his second start since coming back, Giolito.
Let's see what we go down here. We've got. You like anything in this Philadelphia Tampa Bay game?
Tampa Bay has not been hitting. They did score 7 runs the other day and beating up on the Yankees and their 5th starter, Warren. But if I play this one, looking at the line here, Philadelphia, I'm showing him the Phillies somewhere around $1.18 to $1.20. I think that's a reasonable number to be laying with the much better offense.
I agree. Now,
and Zach Wheeler pitched baseball over the last few years.
Pardon me?
I say Wheeler's probably one of the top 5.
Oh, yeah, he has been.
Yeah, Wheeler the last 4 or 5 years, and he's in good form this year again.
You talk about the next game is very interesting. You got San Diego, the Padres against the Yankees, 2 of the best teams in baseball. You got King, who he's a bit of a monster at times. He can really throw it.
Ex-Yankee, by the way.
Pardon me?
Ex-Yankee. He was a reliever for a number of years, and then they made him a starter. And I think he was involved in the trade that brought Juan Soto to the Yankees a couple of seasons ago. And as a result, King has become a nice, solid starter for San Diego. And I've been on King much more often than I've not played. I don't think I've played against him, but I've been on him more than I thought I would be. Don't really have a great sense of it tonight, other than maybe. I was going to say I'd look under the total. I was disappointed in the Yankees last night, although I did have the under in the game, where they had a 3-0 lead and they gave up 4 runs in the top of the 8th inning, and their starter Williams, who they made was a big offseason signing, struggled once again in his. He'd been demoted a little bit, and I think pitched okay a couple of times, and they put him back in supposedly an 8th inning, maybe a 9th inning, 2-inning role, and he did not fare well last night. So Yankees mindset, I'm not sure of. I can't make a case for the over in this game, but I might take a look at King. And once again, he's a very slight favorite.
Well, he's a slight favorite, and when you look at the stats, I mean, Schmidt ERA in the last 14 innings, 5.79 against 1.69 for King. The King's got a 0.92 WHIP. They're 6-game winning streak. I can't fade that. I'm going to go. I'm going with the Padres in this game. I kind of like them a lot.
Yeah, it's either Padres or pass for me in this one.
Now you got San Francisco and Chicago. I mean, these are 2 teams with exactly the same record. Verlander against Rea. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah,
and that's an interesting game. You got Chicago 155 at home. That's. Well, I tell you what, that pitching matchup looks pretty damn even. Of course, in Chicago we got the wind issues. We have to check the weather.
Right now the total is 8, so that's sort of like a neutral total for Chicago.
That means there's basically no wind if the total's telling me that. Yeah, right. But with that, I mean, still 155 is a big number against. Well, I like Chicago, but I mean they have the same exact record. Verlander can pitch. He's not been bad. 2.00 ERA, 0.82.
Last 2 starts.
I mean, if there's not wind out with these 2 guys, can you play an under in Chicago?
Well, that's actually when I looked at this game. Verlander has pitched better. He struggled his first few starts with the Giants, but he has settled down. Of course, he's up there in his mid-late 30s, so you never know how long he can hold his good form. Maybe not more than a couple of starts or 3. But I did have the under marked down based on the wind, assuming the wind was not blowing out, but based upon the way these guys are in their current form, I think the 8.5 might be something I would look at. And maybe In fact, let me see right now, because in a matchup like this, especially at Chicago, when the bullpens get involved, I prefer to look under in the first 5 innings. So let me see what the first 5 innings is. 4.5, which is a very acceptable number for a full game total of 8.
Yeah, that's
So
not
that
a
would be
bad.
my play in this one.
That's not a bad idea. Absolutely. You got a team here. Well, let's see. I'm not going to skip ahead, but Minnesota, Lopez, Povich, or Povich.
Maury Povich's relative, I suppose. I don't know.
I got you.
Spelt the same way.
They got a big edge on the pitching side in this game with Lopez.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big number, and you got a losing team with Minnesota. They have not played well this year. They're 15-20 on the year, which is disappointing. But you can't lay 170 with a team like this, I don't believe.
No, not even as disappointing as Baltimore is, who was right up there with the Yankees last year all season for the American League East, made the playoffs, and then shockingly, and maybe I don't know that you can say they didn't recover from it because it's been 6-7 months, when they got swept, I think it was by Detroit in that opening round playoff series last year, was a surprise, and they've never really rebounded. 13-20. Their record's only 2 games worse than Minnesota because they played 2 fewer games, 13-20 versus 15-20. But you're right. I cannot see that line. Now, I do see, for example, at Circa and South Point, the line opened minus 150 and has actually been bet up to the minus 170. Not sure if I'm going to play the game, but Baltimore is still a decent team, especially offensively, though they also have been struggling lately, that if I played this game, I would have to take a look at Baltimore simply because, as you point out, it's too much to be laying with Minnesota, which is, again, a below 500 team, although Lopez has been a very effective pitcher for the last couple of years.
Absolutely. Is there anything else on the card that I know you were kind of pressed for time? This is what the issue is. So because we squeezed in the basketball show too, is there anything else on the card that really stands out to you that you want to discuss?
I'll tell you a team that has been very much of a surprise, and the folks like us in Las Vegas are hoping it continues, and that's the Athletics, who are playing in Sacramento this year. They've had a number of games at home, especially at night. Night home games go over the total. We saw it again last night with a game that went 11 innings, and Oakland pulled that one out 7-6. They are now Seattle is leading the AL West at 20-14. Athletics right on their heels at 20-16. So we're seeing the Athletics favored by minus 117. So I might take a look at Athletics with Spring going against Hancock. Hancock is the weakest link. Well, we don't know about Evans, who's been put in the rotation. He's only made 2 starts in the big leagues this year as a rookie. Hancock has not been pitching all that well for the Mariners. So I might take a look at trying to refrain from calling them Oakland, but I can't call them Sacramento. I'm just going to have to do what baseball said, what Major League Baseball says is the Athletics. The other one that also seems to show up as a possible total, although I can't play under 7s, and so maybe let me see what the first 5 total is Skeens going for Pittsburgh against Liberator, I think is how it's pronounced. I'm not quite sure. That's how it's spelled anyway. For St. Louis has been a solid pitcher so far this year. And let me see what the first 5 innings total is. I do not like playing under 3. I will play under 3.5 because if it's under 3, 0, 1, or 2 are the numbers that win. 4 beats you at 3.5. You instead of getting it, you can push on 3 if you're playing under 3. At 3.5, at least 3 is a winner for you. And I'm showing 3.5 in this one, so I might look under the total with Pirates and the Cardinals tonight.
The Cardinals bother me a little bit because they've gone over 6 straight times.
Yeah,
but
that's why I do first 5.
Yeah, that might be the answer there. As far as the Seattle game that you mentioned against the Athletics, I kind of like that game over. I don't think the pitching matchup is that great, and they have been going over a little bit there in that park, and I think that might be an overplay. But Andy, we like I said, we are stretched for time, but we're still doing good. We're in 15-minute level.
Yeah.
So is there anything coming up in the next couple of days in baseball that you see? Is there any of these series that
I normally don't I normally don't bet series. I'd rather bet on a game-to-game thing because you're never really certain that the matchups that you expect are going to occur during the
True.
series. And very often, when you're making a series bet, you're going on the anticipated matchups as opposed to on a game-by-game basis. Especially if all of a sudden you see a team decide, like Toronto is today, maybe they're undecided right now. The last I saw, and maybe that means they're going to use a bullpen game. Yesterday, for example, the Dodgers did the same thing. They made a change. I think it was Casparius, I think, was the scheduled starter. Then they put Dreyer in there, who made his first start, I think, Friday night, pitching 1 inning. And they did the same thing last night. Casparius, who was listed as a starter, came in the second inning after they took out Dreyer for his 1 inning where he did, I don't think allowed any hits or strikeouts or walks. And then Casparius, who was the initially scheduled starter, comes in and pitches 4 innings, which makes it difficult because I still like to list pitchers because that's such an important factor, simply because they're still expected to go more than half the game, 5, maybe 6 innings. But when they make these changes with the bullpen game and all that, which I've never really understood, you're basically wasting a pitcher by having them go just once. I guess it means that they don't want the scheduled starter to see the top of the lineup for a third time until perhaps the 7th, 8th, or the 9th inning if he goes 7, 8 innings after relief. So that's what makes it difficult for me to play series, and that's why I start taking a lot more of a look at 5 innings, especially with pitching matchups where I've got good versus good, or the one that I really like are the bad versus bad, because then I'll look at 5 inning overs and full game overs, figuring if we go over in the first 5 innings for the short number and then the bullpen gets involved, more runs likely to be scored late as well.
That's right. Well, baseball has figured out a couple of years ago that if a pitcher is seen by the batters 3 times, that even twice, but definitely 3 times, they don't want them in there because the batters are sharp enough and talented enough to take advantage. They know what they've seen already, and they make adjustments. These are talented people, just like all these professional athletes are. They see things that us average people don't. So they know they don't want them to go through the lineup too many times. It's just so they make these adjustments and make these pitching changes and everything else.
Yeah.
But
they figure that when you have one of those starters going 1 inning, that starter, the guy who's just going to be that, he'll see maybe certainly 3, maybe 4 or 5 batters, meaning that if the original starter comes in the second inning, he's facing the first batters he's facing will be the bottom of the order, and then so he won't see numbers 1, 2, and 3. He'll see him in the 3rd inning, maybe the 5th or 6th inning, and then maybe again into the 7th or the 8th inning, by which time the bullpen likely takes over. And then that scheduled starter will never see the top of the order 3 times.
That's an excellent point. And they figured it out. And they're right. I mean, it's crazy. It makes handicapping the games a little bit more difficult. No, a lot more difficult, actually. But from their standpoint, they're making the right move. I mean, that's
the thing, Jim, is that if that's the theory, that they don't want to see the same batters more than twice, why not take, let's say Dreyer, who was a starter last night for the Dodgers, let him face the first 9 batters. Let's say it gets him into the top of the 3rd inning, 1 out. Then you bring in another pitcher who sees 9 batters, 1 through 9. And then you do that again. So maybe use 3 or 4 pitchers during the game, and a batter never gets to see a pitcher twice.
So basically you would say, instead of having starting pitchers, you have all relief pitchers, just rotating your whole bullpen every couple days.
Pretty much. And a starter, maybe a starter will be allowed to see a batter twice, but that would be the exception. And the general rule would be, you've got 13 pitchers, I think, on a staff. So basically, if you did that, you'd have 4 to 5. If these pitchers are only, if you're facing 9 batters, let's say you're averaging, 5 pitchers in that bat on average. That's 45 pitches you're throwing. You could throw every other day.
Excellent point. And the evolution of sports, we'll probably see more of this as we go along. I don't know. Was it Tampa that started?
I believe they did years ago under Joe Madden before he went to the Angels, where he won the World Series with the Tampa. So
it's an interesting concept, and actually, I can see the merits. As I can see the changes as being positive. It's not a bad
Well,
thing.
not only that, it means that the batters and the opposing team, and when I say opposing, it could be every team if they do it, you now have to do scouting reports on multiple pitchers for a given game, which means you can't concentrate on breaking down who the starting pitcher is because he's not going to go the 5 or 6 innings that he normally would. He's only going to go through the lineup once.
Exactly.
That's more to prepare for, and that's an edge. Although it's not an edge if everybody's doing it, because everybody has the same issues.
Yeah, it balances out, and we just have to look at the games totally differently from our perspective. Andy, this is great. We did 2 shows today: basketball, baseball. We got it all, and in what today's the 6th. In 10 days, we got the WNBA starting.
Yep.
And we'll have to get into all that drama. And
do you follow their preseason results?
A little bit. A little bit. I know that it's become a very popular sport.
Yeah, I've not seen preseason lines up on the WNBA, but to be honest, I haven't looked for them. But I do sort of see the scores coming across and seeing, which teams. You can't make all that much out of preseason because they don't play that many games. Maybe they play 4 games in preseason, but at least you get an idea of which teams are struggling and which teams are working on things, especially with some of these new rookies coming in.
The one thing is the bookmakers probably don't have, and the odds makers don't have solid numbers either, just like we wouldn't, because there's so many lineup changes, there's coaching changes, lineup changes. These girls are coming out of college, like Paige Breckers and others like her, and then there was a lot of shifting around in the players from team to team. So there's a lot of feeling out process here. I have seen some of the stuff, and the crowd sizes, of course, everywhere Caitlin goes, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be pretty much the same thing with Paige as well, because she is another talented girl that was actually rated higher than Caitlin when they were both playing, until she blew out an ACL or something like that a couple of years ago and had to miss a year. But she's very talented. So this is going to be a hell of a year. It was great for me for last year for return on investment. And as far as, I'm going to, you call me a sports bettor, but I'm like an investor. And anytime you have a big return on investment, you like a sport.
Well, that's when we get into talking, and maybe it'll be a good subject, about when you play parlays and you have an opportunity to hedge, because let's say the first 2 legs are in and the third one hasn't started yet, because you just talked about the word investor, and people have different opinions on whether you should hedge. Well, you made the bet liking the 3 teams and let it ride. Yeah, if you're in, like, from Minnesota for a weekend in Vegas, go ahead and play, because you don't get to play very often. But if you're doing this every day after day, you want to show a profit. And the risk when you play a 3-team parlay and you've got the first 2 legs in, you've eliminated your risk, because the risk was getting in position to guarantee a profit, and the hedge guarantees a profit.
Absolutely. I understand that people that are not in it as professionals like we are.
Yeah.
To me, when I look at my calendar and I look at every day's results, I like to see a lot of pluses.
Yeah.
And if I can guarantee myself a plus day, I'll take a smaller profit to guarantee that it doesn't turn into a loss. Yeah, you're going to have, yes, your bigger upside is going to be on what you liked originally, but to hedge off of that. I mean, if you're playing in the Survivor at Circa and you got $20 million on the line, and you're looking at maybe a $14 million payout, I'm going to go in there $4 or $5 million and guarantee myself $4 or $5 million.
Absolutely.
And, yes, it's nice to win the 15 instead of 11, but still, I want to walk away with at least the $4 or $5 million.
Yeah, which is a nice investment for $1,000 entry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people this year, the guarantees in the Circa, there's going to probably be $20 million this year.
Did you? I don't know if you heard the news about Westgate. They announced some of their contests within the past week. They were the granddaddy of them all with the super contest back when it was the Hilton, the $1,500 entry fee. They announced the contest this year. They're going to have a college football contest, a little bit less expensive than that. But the big news is.
And Andy, why don't you tell the people just really quickly? I know we're running out of time, but tell the people really quickly what you do for these contests and how your service is available.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do proxying for people from out of town who like to play in these contests. You have to be in Las Vegas to register for the contest, but then you can appoint a proxy, someone such as myself, to put the weekly selections in for you. Because interstate transmission of this information is not yet legalized. I imagine it will be at some point where you'll be able to play online from Iowa or wherever you are, but you may still have to come in. But right now, the current law is that you have to be in Nevada, not Las Vegas. You have to be in the state of Nevada in order to submit your contest selection. So people can get a hold of me if they want. I throw email address out there. Probably it's the easiest way. Vegas Andy 711 VEGAS ANDY 711 at Cox COX. That's the Cox Cable Company, Cox.net, and I can give you more information. But I was going to mention the popularity of that Survivor contest. We're at 14 million last year with Circa. Westgate is going to have a high-end Survivor contest this year with a $5,000 entry fee, winner take all. They already have that for the gold contest where you pick 5 games a week, but this is the first year they're going to have a the first year they're going to have a Survivor contest where you pick one team a week just to win the game straight up. No point spreads involved, but you can only use a team once during the season. That's what makes the Circa contest very unique, and that's why it's grown from about 4,500 entries the first year to over 14,000 this past year, which I think was the 5th year of the contest.
Oh, and it's going to be a lot higher this year because the number is huge, and there's going to be consortiums of lots of people putting their money in, and I'm thinking about it as well. I didn't do Survivor last year, but I'm sure thinking about it because that's a big payday that you might. I mean, you got to take a shot. You know what I'm saying? And so, anyway, Andy, we're running along. Thank you very much for the 2 shows today. We'll talk again tomorrow on the ATS show. I don't know if Mark Lawrence will be joining us, but I know it'll be Greg and you and I. And good luck, everybody. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe, like, hit the bell so you know when we're up and ready every day when we do these podcasts. And Andy, we'll talk to you soon.
Look forward to it, Jim. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.